Welcome and thank you for joining me today. My name is Adina Dabija. I want to thank the Romanian Cultural Institute and to Bucharest Inside the Beltway for inviting me to share with you a little bit of my work as a Romanian writer. And I am currently based now in Long Island, New York, where I run a small healing center offering acupuncture, hypnosis, functional medicine, meditation, and more, soul center, where I am now. So what I want to share with you today is a chapter from my novel, Rumi's Field. This is a chapter about the meeting between Rumi, the Persian poet from the 13th century, and his spiritual guide, Shams al-Tabriz. And just to offer you a larger context of my novel, this is a novel focused on the process of initiation, which is a sort of rebirth into self-knowledge, self-discipline, self-reliance, and the connection with a higher power. So it's Shams al-Tabriz who guides Rumi into his upgrade from the state of a priest, someone who follows the dogma, into his next stage as a poet, as a mystical poet who has direct connection with the divine. So even if my chapter happens in the 13th century, I think it's still relevant today, and of course reverberates with a little bit of what I do in my day-to-day life as I guide people through their process of self-empowerment, taking charge of their own health. But we are called as individual human beings, and also at the planetary scale, I think, more than ever, to take charge for our choices, to take informed decisions in our day-to-day life. So allow me, before I read from my novel, to share a small poem that is called The Hemlock, which is a poisonous plant. And this is from a collection of poems called Songs from My Garden. And this symbol of the poison, of the hemlock, is reflecting the same dynamic between the guide and the initiate, where the guide assists this process, this sometimes painful process of rebirth, by handing the initiate a poison that allows him to shed an old skin. So there is rebirth into the truth of whom he is. So the hemlock. Don't just stay here and beg. We can't help you. Such things don't exist. You are simply mad. Don't block the road. Do as we do. Move on. Keep up with the flow. You need to arrive to the end. It's called life. It's happening now. There is no door, no escape. You simply go through it. Yesterday, I was moving through it like everybody else. When I saw you, half here, half there, I stood here, there. You didn't say anything. You knew, and I knew. You slowly handed me the poison. I am drinking it now. I remember. So allow me to share now from my novel. This happens on November 29th, year 1244 in Konya, Turkey. I am sitting here by the creek, listening to the sound of the water. I often need to be alone after Juma, the Friday Mass, and just allow the water to carry away all the impressions of the day. It's a good way to empty my mind of nafs, so I can allow As-Salam, the giver of peace, to fill me up. After I flow with God's breath again, I start to reflect on the urgent problems that I need to attend to. Today, it's a letter to the vizier that I have to compose and send before the spreading rumors about what happened last night reach his ears. My sacred duty is to support my father's madrasa, but I cannot close my eyes to some of my students' acts of sleep. I have to write Pervane a letter to defend the madrasa, while I'm still debating with myself in which direction should I go if these rumors prove to be true. Quote, Much honored Pervane, may peace always be with you, and may you rest under God's protection. It was with great concern that I learned about a rumor that reached my ears this morning, that 2 of my students were seen visiting taverns and prostitute houses. It is very hard for me to believe that someone who makes efforts to come from far away to study the path of God would exchange the cloak of daytime for crude nakedness of spirit at nighttime. Rest assured that I will investigate these rumors, and if proven true, I will do what is just. However, what is most concerning to me is the fact that you yourself express doubts about my disciples' good character. I am confident that you, in your great wisdom, are well aware that people come to study with us from all over the world, not because they are perfect. If they would be, I would go to study with them myself. The truth is, they come to us because they are in need of reform. As much as we strive to accept in our madrasa only the ones that are ready to advance, sometimes they need to burn their worldly ones on their own, even in taverns and in prostitute houses. It is beyond my power to accelerate their internal process, and banning them from madrasa would be an irreparable dishonor for them and for our school. What I can do is to discuss with them the state of their souls and share with you my findings. God has mysterious ways to our hearts, and I believe that because we are helping so many people and we care so deeply about their souls, that our town has enjoyed so many years of divine protection from all invasions. Let's not alter this divine balance and our reputation with negative feelings towards the unlearned. Closing the quote. I'm wondering if my father would add anything else to this. Before sending it, I'm once more turning to his notebook. Like every time I need advice, I open it and receive guidance. It points me to an answer to what my father would do. Would he exclude these people and please the Pervane, or let the students go through their process and endanger the school's political ties? This is such a delicate balance, and any wrong move would distress each side of the equation. My father's madrasa is again in great danger of being attacked, and it's my turn now to protect it. Ever since my father died 15 years ago, his spirit is always with me, and just by holding his notebook in my hands, I feel encouraged to stand up once more in front of the Sultan and defend my father's legacy. I am the son of Baha'u'l-Din Valad, the great mystic from Balkh. If my father managed to save us all from the Mongolian invasion and to set up a madrasa in a time of great incertitude, then I, his son, can at least keep his madrasa and our great teachings alive. What are you doing? A voice just interrupted my thread of thought. Why did this black-cloaked dervish stop in front of me? A pair of black piercing eyes is staring at me from above with curiosity and severity. Doesn't he realize I am absorbed in a hall? Such an ignorant man. I am studying knowledge that cannot be understood by the ignorant. The 2 eyes keep staring at me intrusively. Then, with a sudden movement, he grabs my father's notebook and throws it into the creek. Hey, what are you doing? What do you know, you fool? This was my father's journal. I jump into the water to save my father's notebook. To my surprise, it is completely dry. Hey, how did you do this? Mavlana, this is knowledge that cannot be understood by the learned. Then he turns around and runs away. Hey, wait! I am shocked. I take my donkey and I follow the black-cloaked stranger through the marketplace, amid the cotton and sugar vendors. He walks so fast that I can barely keep up with him. I am fascinated by all his movements. He's running, but he actually looks like a big bird flying. He suddenly turns around and catches a hold of the reins of my donkey. As abruptly as before, he challenges me with a question. Who was the greater mystic, Bayazid or Muhammad? What a strange question! Of course, Muhammad was the greater of all the saints, I reply without even thinking. So why is then Muhammad said to God, sometimes my heart gets veiled, so 70 times I seek refuge in my Lord and ask for forgiveness, while Bayazid says, I dissociate myself from all imperfect attributes. There exists nothing under the robe I wear other than God. What do you say? Something that happened before is still happening now. An intense feeling of remembrance or resonance has opened a window at the top of my head, and a part of me is overflowing through that window. I cry, I see my body falling to the ground, while from above, part of me is watching people rushing from all directions to bring me water. I see the strange dervish standing calmly next to my body, but he's not looking down to my body like all the other people. Instead, he's looking up to me. I don't want to come down. Here in the open field, there are flowers, but thousands of times more fragrant than the ones I knew from before. I spend an infinite time here, remembering, learning about the delicacy of the human soul. I'm lying down in this new grass while the sky is pouring its stars into my whole being, reverberating, you, come, you. After an infinite time, I hear the dervish voice calling me. You need to come back down here. We have a lot of work to do together, and we have no time for this naff. Then I remember that I should keep my eyes on God Himself and start pulling myself back into my body. Even the ecstatic state can be a naff, a trap. I decide to come back from trance, and I sip from the glass of water that a woman has offered me. Then I look at the stranger and answer his question in one breath. Muhammad was the greater of the two, because he was advancing 70 levels every day. And every time he advanced to a higher level, he was ashamed of his state in the lower level. And with every moment he came closer to God, he then regretted his former distant state. On the other hand, Bayazid was amazed by the greatness of the first level he reached. He lost himself and said these words. Muhammad's capacity was unlimited and could never be filled. His desire was endless, and he was always thirsty. For this reason, he said, I have never known you as I should have. While saying this, I look into his eyes, 2 plates of fire, deep as the ocean. What I see there is that lovers don't finally meet somewhere. They live in each other all along. I take his hand and we walk together towards my father's madrasa. Thank you.